What's up, everyone? This is Just the Guys, and tonight is just me, Logic, and Gimpy. You guys know the drill. Just go ahead and like, share, subscribe to Metro Conservative Media on Facebook, YouTube, and the Twitters. We appreciate every ounce of support that you could provide for us. Um, Also, check the links in the description. Support our channel by supporting the books that we recommend: Color, Communism, and Common Sense, which is a great one by Manning Johnson.
Ding, ding,
Um,
ding, ding, ding.
and also the Tuttle Twins series, which are a great way to introduce your kids and really yourselves to principles of freedom, individuality, how the law works, how government works, and everything. I'm gonna tell you this story real quick, Gimpy, because I actually challenged a friend, a friend of mine's kid on these books. I was like, all right, so look, here's the deal. You order these books, these kids. She didn't have anything to do over the summer, so order these books. And she ordered the set. She got all the books. She read the books, and you should have seen the pages of notes. This 12, 13-year-old kid
made
provided on it was absolutely amazing. So now I do
books, man.
Now I do owe
her books.
But I now owe the kid $50 because I made a promise. Like, look, you read these books this summer.
Dude, those are the things that kid will remember when they're 40.
Absolutely.
When they're dealing with their kids and their nieces and nephews and their friends' kids, the things they'll remember is the dude who did that. Like you remember that and the adults who did bad things for you. Like,
so I think I'm gonna put that challenge out. I'm gonna put that challenge out. Like, if the link is in the description, right? So go down, order the kid set. Well, not the what do you call it? Just a set of the Tuttle Twins books. It's a set of 12 now, I think. And if your child reads the books,
it's more than 12 books.
Well, yeah, there are more than 12 books. But if your child reads the books and provides, the big idea to me, and I can verify it, I'll give the kid $50. $50. I'll give the kid $50. I don't know who wants to take me up on that challenge, but if you got a teenager out there or a grade schooler, middle schooler, they need something to read. Yeah, I encourage them to take the challenge. But I'm gonna read something from one of the books a little bit later tonight because I think it really related to a lot was going on with the girls' show tonight. Man, it was
lit tonight, brother.
Yeah, that was
without having any controversy or retardedly insano guest or people pushing the envelope of what you can say without getting banned from YouTube. We managed to have top viewership for the night. It was great. They were good, man. I was impressed, and I like Malvern. I can never pronounce her name. Malverine.
Yeah.
Malverine.
She's always awesome.
She was good. She has presence.
Yeah, she always got some good stuff to share. But what they talk about first? They talked about the Maryland elections.
Dude, that's a big deal.
So let me ask you this: is Dan Cox electable?
Yes. Everyone's electable.
Okay.
It's unless you have like serious issue, like unless he's an open pedophile or whatever, anyone can win an election. You just have to have, it's a sales pitch. You have to sell better than your opponent sells. And the problem is they are obsessed with attacking each other instead of appealing to the voting base.
So
they think it's a
So T said it was a win for Westmore.
Yeah, because a lot of people want to say that. That's the easy answer. Hard work wins elections, and it's easier to say Westmore wins because Dan Cox is unelectable. But if Dan Cox was so unelectable, why didn't Kelly Schultz win? Like, my argument is Hogan himself says the all-time lower the voter turnout for the thing, blah, blah, blah. Your girl didn't bring them to the polls. What's going to get them to come to the polls for her in November? If they're not going to come in the primary to get her on the ticket, what's going to get those Republican base? That's totally taking for granted the Republican base in Maryland, saying you have to do what we tell you is the right way to elect somebody governor in Maryland versus what you want from a candidate. So you have to accept our positions in order to maintain a Republican. Like, it's It's trading safety for, freedom for security.
So how does Dan Cox lose this election then?
He allows it to be a battle of character, instead
So,
of doing what Virginia did.
so
let him do
let's
what
talk
Young
about
did.
character then a little bit, because this is going to come up, during the campaign cycle. So we need to get ahead of this or talk about it now, or at least Dan needs to have something, to say about it. And that's the case where he defended someone that's was accused of rape and pedophilia. How does he
Defended
get past
how?
that?
Can you explain that? What, as his criminal defense attorney?
Yeah, as an attorney.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't care. That's his job. He gets paid. You have to assume all your clients are innocent, or all of them are guilty, or whatever. He's doing what he's paid to do. He should turn down somebody. When you're in a position that, like, I worked for a lawyer, so I've seen the insides of that environment, and I'm just saying, you don't ever want to be the guy who goes to a lawyer and he turns you down to take your case. Like,
So how does he get ahead of that then? Right? How does he?
Dude, he has to play it that he offers fair representation to all people, because under the law, you're innocent until proven guilty.
But that's not how
everyone's entitled to a fair legal defense that they can afford. I mean, that's the law.
But look, in the climate that we're in,
facilitating his belief, it's not about the person; it's his belief in upholding the law. You make it about the law. You take away from the character assassinations, and you keep it about things are winning statements and winning ways to spin it. And it's not about the guy and what he did. It's about Dan Cox being a sentinel of the law, and the importance of maintaining the order that everyone got a fair legal defense, because everyone's innocent until proven guilty.
But you're not innocent until proven guilty in the court of public opinion, though.
Yeah, but that's the point.
And that's the
You
court
have
that
to
matters
sway
right now.
the opinion by making it about Dan and not the guy. Make it about Dan being honorable and doing the right thing as an attorney and offering everyone a fair legal defense, so that this is a guy you can trust running your government, because he's a guy who's going to not jump to conclusions just because the court of public opinions is jumping to conclusions, because how many times are they wrong, right? Like, that's the whole thing. Just because no one ever has to apologize doesn't mean that if you ask me how he gets ahead of it, that's how he gets ahead of it. Otherwise, he can't get ahead of it. Otherwise, all they're going to do is assassinate him on the guy. It's about this guy. But what about all the lawyers who represented drug dealers and murderers and killers who went on to do?
They don't matter, because they're not running for governor.
Yeah, but they do, because they've run in other places.
I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm playing devil's advocate because that's what you're going to hear. Look who jumped in.
I'm not saying that, but you asked me how he does it. There's only a very narrow way to do it, and it's about making him, and it's about finding the honor in the integrity of upholding and keeping the law as someone who's worthy of running the state of Maryland. Because otherwise, it's always about this guy's a pedo. Otherwise, that's the only way to fight back.
So let me contrast this too, then, because we have the second topic of the show, which was the puberty blockers being introduced to kids, right? So this is the Democrats and the left generally pushes this idea of, we want pedophilia, but then when it comes to someone like Dan Cox, who let a pedo allegedly or encouraged a pedophile to go back on the street, that's when pedophilia is an issue. Like, how do we navigate that double standard?
You can only do your best and hope you win enough of the voting base. Like, that's the problem. This is what we talked about once before. It's grand to have what the Republican Party wants to be, how we should be, but you have to have workable solutions, pathways to gaining. You're not going to go from A to the ideal. I'm sorry. Stop running candidates that aren't good enough to run, because clearly Kelly Schultz wasn't good enough to win either. But all the people out there who hate Dan Cox and say he's an unwinnable candidate and the Republican voter base, and we didn't think, she didn't make people feel like it was a big enough issue. She didn't draw an all-time low voter turnout in the primary. And you keep talking about like how it's bad. The candidate herself is saying she can't win in November. She's telling me she can be the one who wins in November. She can't get enough people to outvote Dan Cox, that she's not conceding the race and making the count
I
every
think she thought
mail.
she had it in the bag. Reason, what do you got to chime in, man? You just jumped in the conversation. You just jumped in the call like you was I don't know, like Spider-Man or something. Like, what you got going on, man?
Nah, I'm sorry. I had to take care of a sick daughter. I didn't know that she was. I didn't
Oh,
know that
man.
she was. No. So throughout the earlier show, her and my wife were out, and then she came back not feeling well. So yeah, I had to make sure she was all right. But yeah, jumping in. It feels good to be back, you guys. I'm really not a fan of this. This second topic was especially what really got me, honestly, was do I have it? Stuff like this blows my mind. I mean, Maryland Montgomery County Public Schools is requiring teachers and admins to both facilitate a child's gender transition and lie to that child's parent about it, according to district wide guidance.
All right, so let me ask this question. Take that away. Take it away.
Wow.
Hold on. Let me ask.
Wow.
Hold on. First off, let me ask this question: where do we draw the line?
On what? What draw the line on
Okay.
what? On being insane? Because that bus has left the fucking station.
Where do we draw the line? Because let me say it right. Because it's like this doesn't just happen, right? There were the signs of this happening years before.
Yeah, I agree
now,
with that 100%.
Right? So where's the line going to be drawn? Because to be frank, to come out and say this, it means it's already been accepted for years. This has already been supplanted inside the education system for years. Now they're just saying it out loud.
Because they got caught, so they have to say it out loud.
No, so where's the line going to be drawn?
What do you mean? When people have nothing left to lose?
No, I think the line should have been drawn a long time ago.
Okay, but
it starts with it starts. Let's be real here. I mean, what Shelley said earlier, I do agree with 100%. A lot of people might not be able to do it. I do agree with it. You have to take control. If it's pulling your kids out, I mean, even my wife and I, Logic, probably told you, we've even talked about the whole homeschooling aspect of it. We're glad our oldest daughter's now in college, and even the stuff that she's dealing with as a psych major, it's straight up indoctrination, the craziness, some of the stuff that she's been telling me about in her class. I'm like, really, that's what you guys are talking about? Like, wow, and if memory serves, I think Jersey is a red state. So, I mean, it's some really California type stuff. Say again?
It's a blue state.
Oh, so, well, you know what? Then that's probably why. But I'm like...
It's like a Maryland. It's a ton of blue voters, but they get Republican governors and stuff. It's like...
Yeah, it's absolute craziness. I'm telling you, you would have to physically restrain me. See, you guys are slightly different than I am. You guys are much more political than I am. We know that. You would have to physically restrain me if I was told that was happening with my kid. Like, you would get a phone call from me, like, you know what?
This was already happening. It's only coming to light now because they have to have, like, for whatever reasons you want to give it, they have to talk about it.
Do you
but you know what? That's and I'm sorry, Logic, but that's the parents not being involved enough.
What I want to ask is, do you think they told you before?
Say again?
Do you think they told you before? I mean,
yes, they've attempted.
I think they've been giving clues.
They've attempted. And I actually gave it. I gave it to KJ. KJ read it on the show when her school. I'm not going to blast the school. Sent me paperwork saying that, you know what? What is it? Sexual education, which is no longer called that anymore, changed to some, like, from breastfeeding to chest feeding, all that garbage, right?
A pointless change.
The first paragraph of that was, hey, do you want your child to be a part of this? Yes or no? If you do, sign up for it. You have to sign up for it. We'll take care of it. I read it, the first paragraph after that, and it had nothing to do with sex ed. It was all about this LGBT stuff.
Do you think Westmore is on the side of the Montgomery County schools?
Yes.
Most likely, yeah.
No, not most likely. Yes.
Well,
100%. I guarantee you a large chunk of donors are either education, teachers union, I mean, again, we have the education union at the national level in this country colluded with the federal government to keep children out of school while teachers got paid.
I get you.
So I like why they're just bolder about it now, whether it's because the conversations in the front of everything, when we passed the line, well, we didn't just pass the line. We stopped caring that a line should exist as a site. Like you talk about that, but like that means literal upheaval to things. Like people have to literally stop their kids in mass from going to school, interacting with pop culture. I mean, we have to rewrite the book. We have to start closing. We would have to purposefully choose to segregate ourselves based on conservative values at a level that people would not be comfortable doing because it would require us to sacrifice basic luxuries we take for granted day for day. Like that's the truth. That's the answer. That's what fixes things is that you buy land and build a commune. And,
So I
you
want to
start doing that. I mean, that's because they control all the levers otherwise.
So I want to bring this back to the governor's race because when we're talking about the education system, and how far left is gone, someone that just stands for simple principles of, basic freedoms, God-given rights, sounds like an alt-right candidate, right?
Yes.
Because as one side continues to progress further and further left, even if you just stand still on the issues, you're getting further and further right.
Yeah,
Because,
but that's so. Remember in the pre-show, they were talking when they were talking about the first segment, and they were going around about the infighting, the factions, right? And I made a point to clarify, like my statement and my clarification was, it's not a matter of that. Like this is how each faction defines itself. It's actually one faction is defining everything. You have the establishment, the old guard. They're desperately fighting to cling to power at the cost. Like they're literally denying the fact that voters aren't coming to the polls, and those who are coming are voting against them, right? Like that's literally what happened. They're denying the reality of the scenario and claiming that a fringe group, through the help of the other party, seized control of this election and other similar, primaries across the country. Excuse me.
So for reference of what Gimpy is talking about, the Democratic Governors Association or something like that did sponsor an ad and a mailer that went to that was targeted to Republicans and conservatives. So the Democratic Governors Association sent mailers and targeted ads, Facebook, TV stations, and actually sent mail out so people received the mail in their hand, talking about Dan Cox is the Trump endorsed candidate. He's
too conservative
for Maryland. So it was saying all the things that a conservative would like, and it got a lot of people supposedly to go vote for Dan Cox.
The Democratic governors, again, Kelly Schultz. This is the reality on the ground that the math doesn't add up with me. If it's a fringe minority, if their truth that they're spewing right now, the Hogan camp and their acolytes are spewing, the Monica Smearmans, if it's a fringe, then how did Kelly Schultz, the narrative didn't play out. Kelly Schultz is the electable one. But it's only if Republicans trust her. Like, that makes no sense. Like, that she couldn't get people to the polls. The people who came to the polls and this is following their narrative, came because the opposing party got them there. And the rest are the fringe elements that are pro-Trump and pro-insurrection. And that was more than enough to handily defeat you, that you don't want to concede because that's how bad you got beat.
So I will say this about Kelly Schultz. I haven't said much about Kelly Schultz throughout this entire campaign, but I think she was completely disrespectful. And I'm going to tell you why. So Baltimore City had a Lincoln Reagan Douglas dinner where essentially every Republican in the state of Maryland actually attended.
Yeah.
Dan Cox was there, but guess who wasn't there?
Kelly Schultz.
Not that one. The one we had back in May.
Oh, so she wasn't there this year.
She wasn't there at the one.
Yeah, because Dan Cox was there. She won't go to an event that Dan Cox was at.
But this is but also during her campaign, she never stepped foot in Baltimore City.
Yeah, but why? The Baltimore City is a lost refuge. Like again, I'm not saying you shouldn't be upset. I'm just saying, like, why would you expect any different from a Hogan guy? A Hogan, look at what Hogan does with Baltimore City. He has real power to help Baltimore City right now, and he's throwing it back at a guy he knows who's part of the problem.
So KJ says she did. So KJ, when did she come to Baltimore City? If you could tell me that in the comments, when did she come to Baltimore City? I know for the Lincoln Reagan Douglas dinner, she sent her surrogate, I guess her running mate.
In Hebrew, they say her shaliach.
Yeah,
her messenger.
But she didn't. She came to the Black Republican Council events in Baltimore. Well, I wasn't there.
Always KJ, but she knows everything. She's not like, dude, how many people actually knew she was there? 12? I mean, like, come on.
I wasn't there. I didn't even know about the events. Come on, KJ.
Come on. Like, dude, you know who KJ is? KJ is that guy or girl that you know that's such a super nerd that, like, has that obscure fact about the TV show that you're all arguing
Oh, she's saying you were there.
The ones in 2020? The Black Republican Council events in Baltimore, that wasn't.
He's talking about this year. He's talking about this year's events leading up to the primary. She sacrificed all the votes in Baltimore.
No, I don't know when. I mean, granted, she won Baltimore. Like far as the votes in Baltimore City, she won. I mean, it was pretty even, but she won.
Record low turnout to me means that the problem is that they're not. I tried to say this earlier. It's a sales pitch. They're not selling. Like, they're not closing for sure. If you're not getting people out excited, first of all, my biggest problem with the campaign denying, right, the 2020 deniers, the longer you stay focused on that, so there are two options. If it's true, then all elections are fucked for forever, then there's no point. If you're going to actually go and run and have an election, you have to accept the fact that you have a real chance at winning. If you don't have a way to overturn the whole system right now, then you have to treat it like 2020 didn't happen. Like if you're a denial, like you have to get away from that. It's a dead weight around your neck.
I think this Taria White person is just infatuated with Westmore.
It's not true. Westmore can hang himself. People don't realize this. The Democrats, this is what I tried to say earlier, and I don't think that there's enough because they control the levers of the media, and the conservative media is more than happy to just focus on our own party because we attack Democrats for like real things like the failing economy, the immigration crisis and whatever, but they have a civil war worse than ours. Yes, we have a civil war going on because you have old guard and new guard. This is the worst changing of the guard ever because Trump was terrible at moving on in his loss. Good, bad, or indifferent. This man, look what they did in the 4 years he was elected the first time. If he comes back, look to what lengths will they go to sink this country to sink him, right? Like there's no win for
there's no limits.
There's no winning if Trump. That's why Trump needed to learn how to move to becoming Barack Obama. Like Barack did that great.
So let me ask this: why is Westmore dangerous for Maryland?
Because he's a progressive who's hiding in moderate clothing, like so many other, like Kathy Hochul or.
How is he hiding in moderate's clothing?
Because you also have to understand he's also
his spin team keeps it central. He stays away from sounding like he allows himself to be surrounded by people who sound way more extreme than him. Like that's why Dan Cox is a bad matchup for him on paper, because on paper he makes Westmore's strengths be stronger because he's an extreme. He can be labeled as a fringe extreme, and it's easy to line him up with things that enhance Westmore by doing nothing. You know, Westmore doesn't have to do anything. He just has to stand next to this guy. And like centrists who are afraid of Trump will be more like, okay, maybe, you know, I don't really like West, but I'm definitely not going to have an insurrectionist run my state.
Well, according to people like Taria White, it has nothing to do with that. It's just because he's fine.
I mean, that's for sure. He's better looking than Dan Cox. No homo.
I was gonna say the guy's ridiculously articulate. I mean, I think he's one of those people that could probably you probably can't stump him with a question because his vocabulary is just like I don't know, one of those people that can find an answer for everything, and even if it doesn't make sense, make it sound like
politician.
It makes sense.
He doesn't have he might. He might be a
elegant.
Democrat parrot, but he knows how to politic.
Yeah, I thought Barack Obama articulated himself well. This guy's pretty good.
I
But
mean,
still,
like
I think
he's a Rhodes Scholar. Like
Mhm.
he's well traveled. I mean, he's been in the military. He has the credentials,
Mhm.
but and he has the charisma.
But
And
does he?
Mhm.
the dangerous part about it is that people get charmed by that.
Has he
And
had a straight debate? See, that's what I'm saying.
I don't think he's going to debate.
Yeah, he has to. In Maryland, they have to have the one public access debate.
Yeah, but that outside of that, I don't think he's going to debate.
Okay, but that one debate, if Dan Cox pulls off something in that debate, well,
Oh, come
there
on,
goes
bro.
the boss. He's now
I'm here.
now you're not a red X. But anyhow, can I hijack for a second, because when we started this, I had a question. The second part, like there are a couple of things, and you guys always like to think I'm this way too heady of a guy, and maybe I'm just totally insane. But my biggest problem with that whole segment, like that comes to mind, is on one hand you have the FDA saying all this shit is going to give you brain swelling and memory loss, and your eyeballs are going to fall out of your head and whatever. Fine. At the other hand, you have the deputy director of the Health and Human Services in the United States advocating for giving a flawed drug to children. And we heard Tyrone say tonight about, people are going to intervene, they're going to sue, right? Like parents are going to want to hold things accountable. What happens when a teacher convinces a student to lie to a parent, to hide that they're and the child dies from transitioning?
Well,
where is who is like, if your kid, right? Like, you're
yeah,
both parents,
Mhm.
and your kid, you get a call one day from the school nurse calls you, you got to come in, and they have to tell you that your kid died while getting his treatments or her treatments for puberty blockers.
Are there any immunity laws or anything like that?
I have no idea. This is totally this is insane. You're being lied to. So are you on the hook as the parent? Because they've been lying to you. Does your parental obligation disappear because the school removed you from you didn't know? Or are you still accountable despite having bad faith actors involved in the scenario? Like, where does this go when a child dies?
So this is why we all need
from
to
a drug that has been listed as dangerous by the Food and Drug Administration.
So we really need to take our kids out of public schools, because the only way it'll be fixed is if we drain the money from these systems.
That's the political way. KJ and I think are very alike. The teacher dies.
They don't need to. It doesn't need to get to that point, though.
Hold on. Well, I get what you're saying, but I also get what KJ is saying, because I can't necessarily go after the teacher because the teacher's following orders. I can, however, go after the principal, the vice principal, and the people above them. That's that aspect of it. Now let's go to the other side, Gam. You talked about the parenting aspect of it.
Black
okay,
Chad's gonna
what part?
People. That's
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Saying.
What part of you not being? How are you not paying enough attention to your children to find out that something like this is going?
Jobs to pay for a tank of gas. That's how. Like, you can't see. That's not fair. That is not fair. As a person who doesn't have kids, I understand that I'm not in a position to say this, but that's not fucking fair. The economy is destroying families. Forget about everything else.
No. The economy destroying families is only a piece of it.
Jobs created are people's second and third jobs.
Yeah, that's wonderful. But so when does the accountability? You can't blame it all on the economy.
But you have to in the real world.
Yeah, and the real world says
cannot say that there aren't going to be people who are being buried and they have 5 kids and they're trying.
That's their fault. Be less sexually promiscuous. That's their fault. Hey, and we're going into Jake's next, so that's a great segue.
So you're going to say the parents are on the hook, so the parents are liable for information they didn't know?
No, but what I'm saying is, why don't you know? The fact
Because
that
I got to work 6 jobs to
look,
pay for my 5 kids because it costs me $12
then you shouldn't have had
to
5
walk to
kids.
work.
If you had 5 kids, then
But
that
the
means
kids are
you
here.
can't.
Then the kids are already here now.
But
Yeah, like
so
the kids
what?
are
So
here. That
basically,
argument is moot. It's pointless. I still got my 5 kids. They still got to eat. And my one kid died because my kid's teacher lied to me that they're mentally ill.
I get that, but I'm saying you can't just put it on. This is a multifaceted thing. This is a perfect storm of event. You shouldn't
That's
have
the
had.
whole point of my. So you are. I'm not cutting you off.
No,
Please feel free
go
to
ahead.
finish when I'm done. But that is exactly the essence of why I asked that question. Because now we are in a scenario that has never existed before. You, as the parent,
Thank you,
are
Karen.
insane. Like, you're trapped because if you're against your kid transitioning, they'll take your
Karen.
kids away from you.
Hey, Karen, how you doing? Oh man, I know.
Thank you, by the way, Karen. And anyhow, go ahead and finish. But that's the essence of my whole point is that it's such a complex scenario, but someone is going to sue one day, or some court official or some district attorney is going to want to make a name for themselves, and they're going to come after the parents or the teacher or the school. Where is the fault? Who is responsible? When we start making these exceptions that the people who are the guardians of minors should be excluded from them because some other adults, where does that stop? So today it's with transitioning. What happens when it's about?
I do get that. I do get that. But also we have to look at
where do we draw the line?
This is the point that I was getting at that just popped up on screen. And I was going to bring it up, but KJ brought it up before me. Yes, the school is at fault. We understand Baltimore has a destructively horrible school system. I mean, we already know what's going on with the lawsuit that's taking place with it. It is an absolutely horrible situation in Baltimore City. But when can you can't just blame the school system. Say they do this, okay? Say they do this. Are you telling me they do? You're getting your medication to your kid for 2 weeks, and you don't recognize that your kid is possibly throwing up at home or having an adverse having an adverse effect to it.
The easiest,
you know what I mean?
Possible, but it's the first dose.
Yeah.
The first time they take the puberty blocker, they have a negative reaction. Their brain swells up and they drop dead in the nurse's office.
And they drop dead in the nurse's office.
Like, let's keep it very simple. How are you the parent at all? Like, shouldn't that school be?
No. See, yeah, and I guess you know what, and I in not an aggregate in individualizing. Fine, we can look at it like that, which is pretty much, I guess, if that's the case, the name of the school is being changed to Reason University. I mean, I'm suing them for every single dime.
Yeah, I get it.
Possible.
But that's the whole problem. Like, so where today it's transitioning. Tomorrow it's joining the new.
Oh, it's not going to stop. It's not going to end.
The justification will be, well, you guys allowed this to happen. You didn't stop us when we gave you the point in the first place. Like, you didn't stop us at,
No,
the ones that are paying attention did. Like, for example, people like me, we did not let her take this fake sex ed class. We caught it in the beginning. I'm sure what Gimpy said makes a whole lot of, or I'm sorry, what you said makes a whole lot of sense logic when it was about, they probably shared this with you already, or dropped hints about this already. It's just, this is why I'm saying the parents need to pay attention. They do.
Why aren't they?
So can I ask you a question? Didn't you ever hear that, I forget what movie it was in, where he was talking about raising the kids with his buddy, and his buddy was telling him, like, how can you compete with MTV and whatever? You're around 2 hours a day. They're being inundated the rest of the time. Now, on top of it, all the adults you're trusting them with are actually agents that work against you. Like, we know for a fact that there's a statistical impossibility occurring in the percentage increase in kids coming out as non-binary /trans, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Bill Maher did a whole segment.
And if you look at all the libs of TikTok videos that she posts about this stuff, the stories always have similar theme threads in their story arcs. And I started talking about it, and afterwards a bunch of kids told me about it.
But here's the interesting thing about this too, right? Here's the interesting thing about this. aren't we now declaring kids are adults?
The over sexualization of children,
to groom them.
adultification of children,
Well,
especially in the African American
well,
community,
you're
with
like
girls, especially.
Montgomery
Yes.
County is suggesting to kids that if they can lie to their parents, essentially they're saying you're
but it's
old enough, or
they're only adults when it's convenient for them. When when it's not convenient for them, they shut down schools because they're high risk youth. Come on, I mean, dude, it's not about them. It's never about the kids. Like for you, for
it is about the kids.
No, time out. For you two, it is. For the good parents who support like-minded individuals like us, it's about the kids. But for them, on the other side, it's about adults out living their sexual fantasies through children, even if they're not pedophiles. They want to impose their sexual orientation to change like they get off on the fact that they feel like they're changing the system to be in favor of their leanings and their mentalities. So again, we are learning in real time, thanks to social media, that the way this goes down is 100% a cause and effect. A huge uptick of teachers being allowed to share their personal lives in the school. And as a result, you have this crazy transition to this indoctrination. To be fair, it's not unique. Like you guys say this all the time, and there's a side note, there's a pet peeve of mine, and I understand the Black community is subject to a infinite number of wrongs, and I don't disagree with anything that you guys say ever, but it's not limited to the Black community. Every community right now in Western society is suffering under the alphabet mafia. We are all prisoners to wokeism and intersectionality. There is no group that is untouched by this madness. This is a species-wide mental illness that has taken hold. So I just want to be clear. Like, it no longer matters who was affected when. Now it's a sheer fight for survival. Because if this does not change, we will collapse under our own weight. Like this is.
Well, I mean, it's a house divided, right? We're getting to that house divided.
It's already getting. We've been saying we're getting my whole life. I'm 43 years old next month.
Well, so I guess when do we define that we're at a house divided?
We are, dude. When candidates can run purely on twerking, that they can make a platform out of twerking. It starts as a campaign joke, like a fun video. But look, I don't have a problem if that's the type of candidate you want to be. If that's the level of seriousness you want to bring to the thing, fine. It's your right to run your candidacy. I don't have to support it. But the fact is that to fight against the negative, to turn it into a platform and a money raising thing, that's how you know you're over the line. Like the signs are everywhere. We just don't want to give up the comfort we have.
So how do you so when the line is crossed, how do you respond? I mean, because the Constitution lays out some clear ways that you're able to respond, but how do
our
we
founding
respond?
fathers for a nickel tax were killing, like Nancy Pelosi. If the founding fathers would have killed Trump, forget about everyone else. Trump too would be gone. But how do vaccine on everybody that was not guaranteed? Like there is like our founding fathers were not stupid. The testing, they would not be okay with racing it through. We would not have the system we have if people thought like the founding fathers thought.
So what do we do? What do we do?
That's an excellent question. There are people who think you have to burn it all down and you have to start over, but then you have to be very.
So what does that mean? What does that mean when you say burn it down? When you say burn it down, what does that mean?
Revolution. That's what.
What does that mean?
It means organizing an army, rising up and destroying this government and reinstituting a new constitution of the country. And that's what a revolution is. I mean, it could be based on the original constitution, but it has to take into account all the fucking mistakes we've made. Like lifetime terms.
So what are some of the mistakes in the Constitution?
No term limits. Like there have to be term limits on every single office at every single level of government. And if you serve, let's say, as a president, you can't go back and be a mayor somewhere. It's all like if you can only go up in the food chain. If you're in the House of Representatives and then become a senator, you can't go back then because you lost your election as a senator and run that's it. Like it has to be tiered. There have to be total controls. There have to be guarantees that while you're in public service, you can't become a millionaire or a billionaire. There have to be that public service is being in it only to be a public servant.
So, like, I mean, it goes back to that question, though, of like, why do we have to lock doors, right? Like, it's already wrong. Like, it's already morally wrong
Because you have to
take
give
something
honest people a push to stay honest.
yeah, it's already wrong to take somebody else's stuff. But when it comes to the government, it's kind of like the same thing, right? We shouldn't even have these issues. Like, this wasn't even thought about. Like, when the founding fathers were, creating the documents, I don't even think door locks existed.
Yes, they did.
Like, not to the degree that
yes,
we have
they
them
did.
today.
Come on, no.
Come on, man.
Our founding
To
fathers,
the degree that we have today, where you have
men to stand with guns to protect their homes. Like, come on,
you didn't need door locks at that point.
Yeah, dude. To be fair,
man, look at these old locks, man.
There was murder and theft back then. Okay, go on.
Look at these old locks, man. Have you ever seen one of these old doorknobs? Like,
yeah.
you can't.
Dude, have you ever seen one of the doors in an old castle that when it's locked, it would take a battering ram to go through it? You couldn't kick it in, those old locks in a castle. I'm sorry. Like,
that's a castle, though.
No, I mean a regular door, like a door with a key lock in a castle on a stone frame. You're not kicking it in. They're made out of heavy oak wood. Come on, like. They took security for the technology they have.
You get the point I'm making. You get the point I'm making, though. You didn't need bars on your windows. You didn't need the highest technology of secure alarm systems. Like,
they didn't have it, but they tried. They implement. Come on, Chad, Black Chad. Come on, you know you're on my side with this. These guys invented guns that could fire.
That's why you didn't need locks.
Okay, fine, fair enough. Fine, I'll give you that. You're not going to get that argument out. Like, you win that one.
You didn't need locks, man.
But for me, the biggest problem is that our government is the enemy of the people. I'm sorry, like it has.
I'm glad you brought up that point. So I want to reiterate the Tuttle Twins.
Wait, before we go on, before you do that, can I get a Barry White plug? From Chad.
Barry White.
Oh my goodness, yeah. You know what? I was just sitting back enjoying you guys' banter, as Karen so gracefully put it. Oh, you guys, we are Metro Conservative Media. You can check us out at www.metroconservativemedia.com. You can catch us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can catch us Wednesday night, which happened earlier, 8 o'clock. It's the Pop and Politics with the ladies. Thursday night is the 8:30 show with KJ. And this is the after show with the guys. We're the ones that pretty much we're the back end, make things bite me. We're on the back end of this. We make everything run from the inside. No, so we appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us.
That's awful. I don't have words. I think I regret asking for the Barry White plug.
Yeah, man. You did ask for it.
History.
And you did get us.
Bread and butter. You must be having a bad day.
Hey man, I'm gonna.
I told you what the deal was. What was going on. Also, you guys don't forget to check out the Tuttle Twins. Also, Color Communism and Common Sense. All the links to all of that is in the description below. We have all the links to that for pretty much every show.
So
back to logic.
I want to read this from the law. And this is actually the first book in the series.
Mm-hmm.
So it is the law. So, and there's just a couple pages I want to read because it just like so eloquently like sums this up. And this book's for kids, right? Since people want to protect their rights and stop the bad guys, they group together. We often call this type of group a government. So the government fights the bad guys, right? Ethan asks. Well, that's the idea, Ethan, but it doesn't always work out that way. In many cases, the bad guys can become part of the government. And it goes on to talk about how when the bad guys become part of the government, it's called legal plunder, right? So they make laws that they can take from the people, do whatever to the people, but the people can't do the same thing to other people. For example, the government takes your tax money, but you can't go and take money from your neighbor if you want. It just doesn't work like that. So it's called legal plunder. And now what the government is doing is essentially taking your kids away. You can't go take somebody else's kids, right? But now what Montgomery County Schools is saying, hey, we can take your kids.
Yep.
and you can't say anything
remember,
about it.
Remember, man, socialized medicine is one of those things that's a tool to make that happen. But like, right, like that in England, that your children, you lease your kids basically from the government because they control the government dude. This is what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand why people fight amongst ourselves. Like, me and you have different views on things. I will never ever make it that my difference of opinion with people make me want to fight with them more than I want to fight with the government.
All right.
And I'm not an anarchist. I believe in law and order.
Sense.
You know me, man. I'm a big law and order guy and keeping things defined and in lack of chaos. Those are all very big deals for me. But like what we have going on now is the biggest scam ever.
Yep.
The billions of dollars that are going to Ukraine. I'm not saying Ukraine doesn't need help. I'm saying that I want to know why it needs that much help when we can't even keep our own border closed. Like we can't.
I will continue to maintain there's a difference between the American people and the American government.
Yes,
and we really have to start to realize and understand that difference. But let's go ahead and move on to the last topic the ladies talked about tonight, which I think Chad's going to get a little excited about this one, which was
no, I'm looking at no.
It's his favorite thing. It's church.
Can you go ahead and play the clip though? Can you go ahead and play the clip?
Yeah, I'll take care of that for you guys. Here's what happened, you guys. Here's what happened.
This breaks all sociological orders of the culture we're living in now, because we are raising up women to be men. And you are not applauded for your femininity. You are applauded in the contemporary society by how tough, rough, nasty, mean, aggressive, hateful, possessive you are, and you are climbing the corporate ladder, but we are losing our families. I know you can buy your own car. I know you can buy your own house. But until you create a need that I can pour into, I have no place in your life. So stop coming home bragging to me about how much you don't need me and wonder why I shy away. Oh, y'all ain't gonna talk back to me this morning.
First of all,
hold on. Before we get into it, Reason, you had mentioned to me before that TD Jakes didn't always preach like this.
No, Jakes.
So when did he switch?
Jakes became RP to my knowledge, probably around the. So this is 2022. I'll give it. The end of the year before last. So,
but what made him switch? What made
him switch? Two things. One, it was starting to grow from back in the Obsidian Ali time and the Tommy Sotomayor time, back when the Manosphere was first starting. But the problem was feminism was so strong.
And he's like, so does that mean he's part of the same group as?
No, he's not. I don't think he's RP space. I don't. I just believe that he's gotten to a point right now in his career, I guess you can say, that when you've made enough money, you can afford to be real. And it's really sad that, it's taken this long. I mean, because my mentality was your reach was far enough 10 years ago. Your reach was far enough that you could probably say what you wanted to say. But I mean, let's be realistic here. I think this whole thing is wrapping up. This is the final woman that are out loosed this year. It's the final one. So I think he's wrapping. I think he's wrapping his stuff up, and in saying that, maybe looking for a successor or something like that. He's not getting any younger, so I'm thinking he's just finally getting out what's on his mind, knowing that he can just walk off into the sunset. Because he hasn't always preached like this. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
Yeah, but maybe he's always felt this way.
Well, yes, but when you're talking about a group of people that was able to make The producer of Catfish apologized for making a statement that he had facts to back up. His statement was, "Man, the
You guys
stats
always
from
know
my
this stuff.
show,
Oh.
the stats from my show show that the majority, which is only 51%, the majority of the catfishers on my show are black women." So that when you like, there was a period of time in my life in which I was like, man, who's stronger? Like, oh, what's going on, my man? There was a period of time in my life in which I was wondering who has more power, the African American women or the LGBTQ community.
The
Like, you,
LGBTQ
LGBT
community,
too.
sadly. But I just one point I just like to say I have to start calling him Professor Bling on the air. It's an evil genius name. Like now I feel like the Legion of Doom follows him and shit. Like Professor Bling and his Legion of Finance.
Chad has a Legion of Doom set up with the.
Oh, he does. He has like the real hardcore, and he does the producer view. Like it's the back. Oh, man.
oh yeah, this is one of our.
Kevin Samuels. He's the
Yeah, dude. Dude. Kevin he's the heir apparent. But so I have a question for you guys because I always been meaning. So first of all, I've been meaning to tell you this because I told it to. So at this point, I would just say I'm bragging. The few benefits of having a girlfriend, fiance, who just came back from Eastern Europe. I have real Cubans, not Cuban grown, not Cuban seed.
Nice.
And I'm glad you are at home and not driving because the first time I had a real Cuban cigar.
Oh, it knocked me.
Yeah.
No, I had one yesterday. But I just had to for the show tonight. But I've been meaning to ask.
I've never smoked a cigar.
I know you said this before. I feel bad for you, man. They're good. They're tasty. Like I smoke too much, but
I'm trying to lay off myself, but I love a good cigar.
I was for like 6 months. I didn't smoke any tobacco or whatever. I was good. I didn't smoke, but like since I came back from Mexico, it's just. But anyhow, so I have a serious question for you guys because this manosphere stuff. I'm very curious because like I never had any experience other than knowing a lot of guys like you and stuff who have this whole men are oppressed thing going, and I don't disagree.
I didn't say
I'm simplifying it. Look, dude, it's for the show. Like I'm sitting here with you guys. I'm not going to go in a soliloquy about it. I want to ask my fucking question. Like, seriously, I'm oversimplifying it, but I'm just saying. Like, I understand. I don't disagree with it. I never grew up in an environment or was exposed to an environment that preached that stuff. It was very strong, silent men.
None of us did.
No,
I'm not saying you did. I'm just saying, like, but you guys are the first guys who really talk about it on a level that you can conversate with. Most guys who talk about it talk in a way like talking to a feminist. Like, it's just that there's no way to communicate with them.
Well, I do think it always existed though, but they're required a certain level of maturity to get to that point because when you're young, especially as guys, like you're just chasing the women, so you're doing a lot of things just to get the woman. And you'll sacrifice. You'll like. What do you say?
You'll turn a square peg to fit through a round hole.
Yeah, like there's a lot of things.
Gentlemen, do not chase women. You will always be broke. Chase your purpose, and you'll always have women. It's very simple,
brother.
It's that simple.
No. But as a young man, you don't see that happening because
this is the point. This is my question.
You did have the question.
What you're talking about, Giovanni. Mm-hmm. You guys, the three of you, if you could go back to your 15-year-old self, you only get to give one piece of advice. One, and it can't be like it has to be like a contained, like you have to you get 10 seconds to see your 15-year-old self and tell them with what you know now about what it is to be a man as an adult and the whole thing. What would you tell to undo half of as much headache that you know you're going to go through the next part of your life? Like I know exactly what I would say to myself.
You said
I know they're shiny and shapy, but all women are shiesty.
Exact same guy, dude. I would be like, no matter how much you like to fuck, it's not worth it. No matter what. always make it for being in a relationship and not like no matter how much women appeal. Like I love women, and that got me into so much trouble growing up because I find myself in these ridiculous and half of that my headaches
what would you say, Tyrone?
You know, not sure I would change anything simply because not that I did anything right, but because I threaded the needle and didn't.
See, this is that eloquent.
15 by 15.
How long? Hold on. This is that eloquent. How long you been married, Tyrone?
I think he
Froze up.
paused
Can you
on
still
us.
hear me?
Wait a minute, he froze up on us.
Yeah, he
froze
froze
up.
up. Oh, he can
One
hear you,
second,
but he
one
can't hear
second.
you.
Hold on. Let me drop you.
yeah.
I'll bring you back in.
No, man, because that was that answer where like, oh, I know how to say it the most PC correct way, so I can give the answer, but also I can sleep.
Right, that was way too delicate. Like you're talking about 15 years old. This is before you've made any choices.
Well, look, Giovanni, can you hear me?
Yeah,
we can hear you.
but we can't
Yeah,
see
All
you.
right, I'm
Your
gonna
visuals.
I'm gonna come in on my phone because this is not working. But I will say this before I come in on the phone.
Mhm.
I got engaged to my wife 30 days after I met her.
Mazel tov.
That was 22 years ago. Now we
Dude,
were engaged.
you and I have a
How
very
old
interesting.
were you?
You and I have a very similar story.
22 years ago, I was 20.
Right. So we're talking about your 15-year-old self is my point. It's like this is before you have to worry about saying something like you're 15 years old. What is the one like me and Giovanni basically said be more careful with women. Like no matter what, at the end of the day, no matter how much me and Giovanni love women, the best piece of advice we could give our teenage pubescent self is don't.
I would say to myself, don't date. Chill out. Don't try to have every woman. And I'm saying
so
this
also women would be your advice. So again, so now Chad, what would be your piece of advice?
My piece of advice. Man, it's only one thing. It's only one thing I can tell myself.
One thing, and you got 10 seconds to do it.
Right. That you are the prize. That
Yeah.
the world is your oyster.
Time
10 seconds. You got zapped back to the future. Your past self is more confused than when it started.
Well, look,
not
let
at
me
all.
ask this.
I'm just messing with you.
How many of you? How many did you hear that advice that you would tell yourself though, at that age?
Mine, no way. I would never.
You didn't. So you didn't hear that advice at all.
No.
No, not at all.
So none of you heard that advice that you would tell yourself at that age.
No.
From who?
Just anybody.
The closest thing to I got two pieces of advice three. One from my mom and two from my dad growing up. Like real advice about women. The piece of advice from my mom was once a girl rejected me and she saw how broken up I was about it, whatever. I'm sitting at the table crying in my Cheerios or whatnot. And she's like, don't worry, there's always more fish in the sea. Like there's not gonna, no matter what, like one woman isn't gonna make or break. And then with my dad, he gave me two things. One, never, and it applied like one of them he used in several different like iterations, but it basically came down to is don't date girls who are always on a diet or won't eat meat because they're always hungry, which means they're always angry, right? And then the other one is everything about sex revolves around some form of baseball. Like my dad, he gave me the baseball lecture about what sex was, like what getting around was. And my mom laughed when I explained. He goes, because like it was like that's the thing he did with my brother too. So like I don't think people got good advice. Like there was the age range that we grew up in, we had this sense of like reliving the 50s. Like we imagined we still lived in white picket fence suburb type shit. So like,
no, but I
one kid whose parents got divorced in my class, and it was a big
I'd push
deal.
back and say we heard the advice that we give ourselves at that age, but we were young.
We were young.
And you
stupid.
didn't hear it. So there's a
stupid.
difference. Like you heard the advice because my dad told me about staying away from girls.
Yeah, no, but
like my dad told me that.
My dad did. My dad.
Your dad told you.
Yeah, only the girls that die. Like he gave you. It was.
But he told you.
Yeah,
but you were 15.
Okay, fair enough.
You were 15. It didn't make sense until you're 42 now. It didn't make sense. And then hold on, I want to read a couple. So Nick P says, I would say trust God and not people. Bert says, or Black Republican theory. I just BRT Bert. He says leave the hood chicks alone. And Nick P again says, dear 15-year-old me, own the space you occupy. Now I think
like that one.
I think that right there would be
it's the best. He beats ours. Women were a problem for me, dude. I got myself into all sorts of, because I really was the epitome for a long time when I was like 15 to like 22. I was the guy who bent himself from, that Joe Rogan joke, they all try and be a square that fit through a square peg through a round hole and shit. Like, so I don't know, man.
Well,
my point is this, right? Because we're talking about the manosphere and why it's so popular. Yeah. It's popular really now because I think we're the first generation in that age group where the social media combined with this, the prevalence of it has met the mainstream. So when we're talking about manosphere stuff, this stuff existed long ago, but now you're in the relationships, like you're in you've experienced life a little bit. So now the stuff that the manosphere is talking about makes so much more sense because you've seen a lot of the stuff now for yourself. When you were 15,
it's been like that. It's been like that since before then.
No, when you were 15 to 21, you're all out with the liberal stuff. Yeah, like you're all with the woman, women, we gotta cherish women. We have to put them on the pedestal. We have to do all this stuff.
That's why I say I've never been told that stuff. That's why I say
I'm not saying you were told.
I'm not saying you were told this stuff. This is how you acted.
No, that's not how I acted. In fact, I think that
70s, so you were lucky.
I think that there's a generational thing going on here. I'm a little older, and that was not this
he
whole.
Still had the that's what I'm saying. He had that 50s drag, so the 50s created this epitome, and till we're in the mid 80s, enough of the population still held the 50s ideal.
Yep. I get that. I was raised in large part by a World War II veteran who, that whole thing. And
greatest generation deal.
Married to my grandmother forever. They argued every single day that I was alive. Okay, so it was a whole completely different dynamic that I still carry over a lot to this day.
But you're also a man, so it's very different. Your parents were silent generationers, which means you're probably a boomer, which means you guys were the generation that literally destroyed Gen X.
Well,
that's not fair to say, because you can arguably say that about Carnegie's generation in the early 1900s. They blame the boomers for all this shit. These are problems that the boomers just got to capitalize on. The boomers made the most money off of the fucked upness, but the fucked upness was going to bring everything down regardless of how, again, this is my point in the general that I keep saying all the time is we have to stop picking fights amongst ourselves. The boomer, you can say my generation, Gen X, is the biggest problem of them all because we're the ones who did it our way. So we broke every system we got in touch with.
We were trained to be that, though.
Yeah. I'm Gen X
we were trained.
I'm Gen X as well. 72. Okay. And
okay, all right. So
yeah,
all right.
Yeah. The things started to change for us because our generation came along and experienced the computer revolution. Okay, we were on the leading edge of that. It was a brave new world, and we kind of, grew up in that. The 80s, okay, greatest decade of all time.
Grow up in it. We defined it.
True.
You more than me. I'm literally the end of Gen X. But again, my whole point is we have to stop blaming. We have to start. You were saying, how do we fix this now, Jay, right? The way we fix this now is from the four of us here, we all agree that we agree on enough things that we are allies. We have to now make this group bigger, and we have to keep growing this group. And then we have to form a leadership structure within this group. And then we have to create a mission for the group. And the group's mission has to be to take back the country from the structural, institutionalized political apparatus, politic chick, whatever fancy word you want to use. And you want to do it with as little violence or bloodshed as humanly possible. The ideal is zero.
I get that.
That's the solution. That's it.
The
You get
solution
men and together, and you know what? Women will follow, because at the end of the day, my woman, your woman are all very independent, but we are all their heads, and they might be the next.
Okay, all right. So that's what Jakes was talking about. You see, this is a cultural difference. Okay, the women of the culture have to believe that the men are the head.
The women don't believe that whole speed. Sorry, Tyrone, please jump in, man.
That's another thing that, again, I'm on the trail end of the generation that believe that, because like my wife is a believer in that. She is, she's a highly educated woman, but she doesn't lead with that. She is family focused. I mean, really, much more so than I am, in terms of wanting to always bring the family together to do traditional things. So they are out there, but quite frankly, I believe that if they're not in a relationship, then they're bitter. And
Mr. Keys, you have to understand that men like you and myself and wives like we have are known as the statistical margin of error.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah, because she has a degree and she also is happy. She's in her mid-30s and she's happy to be in
that's wonderful. But like I said, this is a cultural difference, brother. There's not plenty like that.
So let me show you the culture
because he was talking about I originally said black manosphere and RP. He said manosphere. They're two completely different things.
And listen,
I'm talking about.
Let me just say
why this is a cultural thing, right? Let me highlight why this is a cultural thing.
Okay.
We know it's a cultural thing.
No, but let me highlight why, right?
Oh, okay.
So this YouTube video got over 620,000 views. Why did this go viral?
Are we talking about the one I just showed?
Yeah, the Jake's one.
The reason it went viral is because it is still unacceptable today for men to hold women accountable.
Now, is it just women across the board?
Oh, I'm sorry. Forgive me. I'm sorry. You're right. I didn't. My verbiage is incorrect. My verbiage is incorrect. No. It is still unacceptable for today for black men to hold black women accountable. I have to be very clear with that. And the proof is in the pudding. There's something that's viral happening right now about a young lady who went on a date with a man who stood her up, and she's suing him for $10,000. Okay. For him standing her up. She cussed out.
Cutting him off.
Hold on. You're missing the point, Gimpy. She cussed out the judge and completely told the judge off. I guarantee you she doesn't do that if the judge is not a black man. I work at a location, and I'm not going to put that out there. I work at a place in which I had to bring to people's attention that I find it strange that in all of these videos that have to do with training and this and that, the only people that are being criticized in the videos, even in the training, are the black men. I'm like, I have an issue with that. I have an issue with women feel like the man is the head, is not the. Yeah, okay, Yana. Yana and I can go back and forth. Whatever. It is a cultural difference. Okay, it is what it is. I would not say, "Hey, I know about Russian culture." I wouldn't do that. I'm not that dumb.
Let's get Tyrone.
I wouldn't.
All right, I'm in business with a lot of immigrants, most of which are from Asia, and the roles, it would seem like in a lot of immigrant communities, are still that 1950s kind of family dynamic that once existed here, and seems like it's optional now. If you listen to pop culture, in the among folk that are multi-generation vested within the country and the culture. So I think, like, when you're talking about Yana on the other show, she made some points about the family unit, where she comes from, and I just think that has been sifted out of American culture, And you can see the contrast if you're surrounded by a good degree of immigrants. You can see the contrast. It's very stark.
See it poisoning other, like, again, this is my point. I think that everybody has way too narrow vision. See, this is why. Okay, so I'm going to sound like a total crackpot here, but that doesn't change much. I generally sound like one. Anyhow, if we jump down the rabbit hole that the conspiracy theorists like to jump down to, this sort of mentality is what enables the they to maintain their stranglehold and keep their plans in motion. Because it's not limited. It's not limited to a single community. It's not limited to a race, a gender, a country. The entirety of Western culture is being assaulted the same way. Color communism, common sense. It might have started in the Black community as a wonderful book. Some IT talk, the sandbox, right? Like the developers' playground. But like now, every community is under full-fledged social warfare.
It is. I agree. But there are some cultures that are apparently, just by the observation, more resistant to that.
Yes, but they're not Western cultures. Western cultures are all the same. You go to England, you go to France, you go to Spain, you go to Italy, you go to Poland, you go to all these. They have the same things permeating, the same problems, the same. That's why Hungary is such a threat to the EU. And if you feel like that, if you're a supporter of Orban in Hungary, you can see what I'm talking about. Like,
I just want to throw this in here. The only rights it seems like we're fighting for these days is the right to destroy everything.
Okay, but before you go there, I get that. But before you go there, I have to make sure they both understand this. And I'm to an extent, I'm sure you might. Gimpy, I understand you're saying, you know what, everyone goes through everything. But, a year and a half ago, Tommy Lauren jumped on Instagram and she said, you know what, men, in order for you guys to be with women like us, you guys have to be this, and this. Okay,
yeah,
we will. Hold on. Do you know why she recanted? Because the men didn't accept that. The men were like, "Who are you?" It doesn't work like that. Do you expect that to happen in the black? Well, I can't necessarily ask you that, but I mean that that will not happen in the black community. There will not be, if a black woman jumped on Instagram or any public platform with a major following, blue check, whatever you want to call it, and said the exact same thing Tommy Lauren said, no one would have fought it. Because no one would have, and you can't say I don't, because it's literally happened. I mean, this is something we've gone through.
Democrats eat their own over bullshit they say. Like you can say, okay, so this specific, like this is my point. This is, you're demonstrating. I'm not disagreeing.
Hey, I want to change. I want to change my answer for what I would tell my 15-year-old self.
Don't hang out with Gimpy. I mean, that's what I
told you. No, like Nick P just made this like freaking absolutely amazing point. He said men want a submissive girlfriend, but submission starts in marriage, not dating. If you want to know if a woman will be submissive, observe her with her father. And that's exactly what I think I should tell my 15-year-old self. Observe the woman that you're talking to with, how is she with her father?
Okay,
don't
so
stop chasing women. Don't stop doing other things that you want to do.
That's just more than one thing.
No. I'm not saying. Okay. I'm just like elaborating on the point. So observe the relationship. The girl you're dating or
with her dad,
with her father.
I get that. So I was talking to our daughter. We have our 2 times a week with the college kid, and she'll kill a phone battery. So I was talking to her, and we were talking the other night, and I was telling her, I said, you know what? What's important is, she's like, Dad, this whole dating thing is great. I'm like, no, I'm going to help you out with that. I said, that's what we're here for. Our objective is to help you vet. Our objective is to, quote unquote, save you from yourself. Get rid of that whole emotional thing, really, And that involves not only seeing what the guy's about, but seeing what the guy's parents are about. That involves, because I truly believe that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I help her to understand that, you know what, he needs to be someone who's taught to recognize what a good woman is. And you know what? You need to be a good woman. You need to be worth. It's crazy how I tell people that I talk to often, a lot. I talk about this a lot. I tell them, yeah, you know what? My daughter says that she wants to be off the market by 23 years old. Like by 24 years old. She wants to be married. She wants to be off it. She doesn't want to have to deal with all that. And they think, oh my goodness, you're absolutely crazy. Why in the world would you teach her that? Well, because it works.
I mean,
Because
24 is late, isn't it? I mean, compared to like old,
Look,
right?
Let me tell you, Jews have a thing that you're marrying. It's not you're just marrying your spouse. You're marrying their whole family. Like there was a reason that for thousands of years it mattered what family married into, outside of just simple greed of trying to marry up in station in life. Like it mattered that the people you were tying yourself to for the. And again, we also have too much of an idea of like, so we talk about abortion in this country. Point of fact, very openly. But we don't talk about divorce in the same light. Divorce is equally as detrimental to the world as abortion.
Absolutely.
The fact that people are so comfortable knowing that they can get married and terminate a marriage and whatever.
Absolutely.
And look, I had a bad marriage and it went on for way too long and I probably should have gotten divorced sooner than I did. But the fact is, at the end of the day, I tried to make it work for as long as I could. Whether I was good or bad at it is irrelevant for this conversation. I looked at my marriage as something that you can't easily undo. But we as a society in the West look at marriage as it's just, no fault divorce. Like the fact that we can have it, like we just don't, we fell out of love. Like that's how marriage is so, like the whole concept, family is not just being attacked in one direct, it's everything. They tore it apart at its DNA.
yes, Gimpy, do you understand that 80% of divorces are filed by women?
Yes.
Do you also understand that? Do you also understand that
beat their wives than women are to beat their husbands? Like I can give you statistics that will make the other side feel good too.
You're absolutely right. But did you know that if you cut that 80% in half for the most egregious things of the Bible or the Quran or whatever you believe, that women still file for divorce twice as much as men do?
Yeah, of course.
So to throw that out there,
it's like, if it's men's fault or women's fault.
Because I'm looking through all this and they say men have to be. That's great, but the problem is the men have an issue with marriage today, not because they're afraid of commitment or afraid of all that other stuff. Men have an issue with marriage today because they're afraid of divorce. They have too much to lose.
Right.
That's what the deal is.
I don't disagree. I think you're agree. Like in a roundabout way, we're saying the same thing. That's my problem. Is we've normalized divorce. Divorce is too simple of a factor to calculate into everything. Like it should be like how we thought of abortion, safe, rare, and legal. Like we should start thinking of the destructive things we need to have access to in our lives as things we want to have as little access to as possible. It should be there when we ultimately need it, but we shouldn't have to like rely on it. And we rely on things like this culturally. This is what I mean. It's not limited to one community. It's like they've taken the pillars. Everything we sit on is corrupted to lean towards one specific result. And like we have to understand that the more we argue amongst ourselves over the petty shit about it, the more they're accomplishing the tasks they want to accomplish. Like we have to get over ourselves. Our differences, like I don't care if my neighbor has a different political view than me. I need my neighbor to be my ally before they're picking the government side.
Oh, I agree with that 100%. Yeah. Absolutely.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Reason, real quick.
What's up?
How much of these marriages, the divorces, are from Christians or from church going folks? You got all the statistics. So how much of these marriages are from Christians specifically, I should say?
How much of these marriages end in divorce from Christians specifically?
Yeah.
In the African American community, I can give you that. I can't give you the entire Christian community. I don't follow the entire Christian community. I only follow what is relevant.
So I guess do it for African Americans, I guess.
So the question is, what is the African American divorce rate in the church?
Essentially in the church or in the Christian community, yeah.
Okay, so 26% of African American women in general are married. Scaling it up to.
No, I just want to know the divorce. I don't.
Hold on. Wait a minute. I'm giving it to you. I have to. That's how my brain works. We're still at over 50%.
So over 50% of these come
Yes.
from generally Christian Bible believers.
No, people who claim they're Christian Bible believers.
Well,
Because
Yeah,
if they
that's
were actually
fine.
Christian,
We're not getting into semantics because this is going to derail anyhow. So
no, it's not. I mean, it's literally it's gotten to a point now where when it's literally it is literally Gimpy. I don't know if you know this or not. You gentlemen, I don't know if you know this or not, but it's literally gotten to a point where when it's asked, "Hey, are you Christian?" the answer is now no.
yes,
It's
no,
like
I
it's
heard
it's it's
about
like you
that.
know what to
Yeah.
a point in which it's like I know why they're
Again,
asking the
dude,
question.
We live in
I
all
don't
right, so
feel like following the
let me go.
Bible.
Let me go.
So
Let me
the
go back.
question,
Let
so
me go
the
back.
answer is no.
Let me go back. All right, so
Yeah.
it's because I think the point I'm trying to see here is if it's more Christians that are filing for divorce than any other, religion.
I wouldn't say that there's a stand. I'm gonna guess that outside of fundamentalist groups, there's the numbers look pretty much the same across demographic. I'm sure
I
there
think
is.
I would
Well,
disagree. I don't think I would
blow
disagree.
your
I would think
mind.
even with the
The-
secular community, I think secular people get less divorces than Christians.
Yeah. Well,
Secular
if I
people
mean,
get less married than
well,
Well, you can't get a
I get
divorce
that,
if you don't get
but
married.
still, I
no,
get
because
that.
you can't count cohabitation failures.
But if you look at
divorces,
say you look at religions like Jehovah's Witness, ridiculously low divorce rate because their mentality is
fundamentalist.
yes, their mentality is
So I like
no
that.
matter what, even if I have to leave the person, and I guess that's would skew the statistic a little bit. Even if I have to be away from the person, I'm still not going to divorce them because that's against what the Bible would say. So it's like if he's beating on me, fine, and forgive me for using the most ridiculous extreme because it really is. But if he's beating on me, fine, okay, I'll leave him, but I won't divorce him. So that could possibly skew the rate. But there's an example of a religious organization that would technically, I mean, they call themselves Christian, so I mean that would
But
be an
I mean,
example.
the point I'm trying to make, right? I think it's ironic, one, that it is the Christian church in general, or the Christian people in general, that are getting the most divorces, right? And essentially, the ones that are supposed to be promoting families are the ones that are tearing it down the most. And it goes back, again, to
You're right. Yeah.
the whole color communism, common sense thing, where the black church specifically
That's what I'm saying. You're right. That's what I was saying. You're right. Yeah.
targeted to introduce a lot of these things because the divorce rate, I believe, is high amongst the black community and particularly black Christians. And that's where I'm saying it's in particular where a lot of the seeds of these things was sown.
Thank you for popping that up, Gimpy. I was just about to do the same thing. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to put that back up there.
I get to live with this woman.
Okay? No, that's cool.
I just got to give a shout out that for 2 weeks I got to appreciate.
And I took that picture. I took that picture of y'all too.
Yes, I have to say that she was
great.
gone for 2 weeks, came back. Life is a different thing. My woman, I've had 3 squares a day since she's back. Like everything, she takes care of me.
That's good. That's nice.
And my woman is an educated, independent business owner, and she still knows how to look after her man. So it's not impossible to be both a career-minded individual and a family-minded individual.
Okay. So let's take a look at the other side. My wife, married for 15 years, she is all of that as well. Her mindset is, I'm going to be upset if I don't make lunch for you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or when you get home from work, my daughter, don't touch daddy. He just got home. Give him his 30 minutes to debrief. He just had to face the world. I mean, like I said, those women do exist. But I'm saying, hey, look, man, they don't stay on the market long. I'm serious. Correct. When you find them, you got to scoop them.
I asked Anna to move in with me after 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. My wife and I went on our first date after we got married. That's why I said, Bling. I said, you and we might have to sit down and talk about stuff. We went on our first date after we got married.
When were we having that? What were we supposed to be having, a roast?
I thought we were going to Professor Bling's secret hideout.
Let me say one thing before you guys leave this topic.
Okay.
This was a tough one for me because if I could go back and tell myself anything, it wouldn't be relationship based. It would be take every dime you have and put it into this unknown company called Amazon. That's what I would tell my
Check
15
that
years.
out. Professor Blake is the one who comes back a trillionaire.
I have
We're
to.
all looking for
Yeah.
dates, and
I have
Professor
to
Blake
clap
is
for you.
buying the escort service. I just want
I have to clap for you. That's why I said multiple occasions. Like we can only say one thing because my thing was
I gotta tell you, it's them dates on
Amazon.
the
Yes,
man.
I was thinking, man, if I only knew, about Bitcoin when that guy walked up to me that night in the parking lot randomly and handed me a business card. Like I thought this was 2014, and I'm thinking this guy has no clue what he's taught, whatever. And he just handed me a random card and goes like, Bitcoin is going to be the next big thing, or Litecoin, or Amazon, or Netflix, or
I'm just in Google.
Microsoft, eating bands.
or AB Google, which all of that good stuff. Nintendo.
Would you
I wish
say
I'd have known
stay
all
away
about
from
that stuff.
Axe Jeeves? Stay away from Axe Jeeves.
Hey, I would have told myself to stay away from AOL.
They're not going anywhere, buddy.
Oh my lord!
Yeah, I would have dropped everything into Alphabet that I possibly.
Alphabet didn't exist at the time, man.
Oh no, but I would have looked for it.
But I would have just told myself, pay attention.
Alphabet existed like just within the last few years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta be honest.
Amazon was huge. Amazon was huge
tonight. Not
127,000%.
Jesus Christ! Oh my God, that just gave me chest
pains.
pains.
Not only was the ladies show popping off, but this show was popping off too. This is good tonight.
Yeah, so let's get out of here, guys. Man, we've been on here.
Yeah, I have a good time with you guys always. Blink, thanks for showing up. I know I haven't been here in the last few weeks. It's good to be back.
Evil genius, sir. I bow to your wisdom as always, Professor Bling and the Legion.
Well, tell us again what a recession is. Tell us again what a recession is.
A recession is, and I made a post about this. I tagged you guys on it. This is what it is. It's 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP. Not only is Tyrone saying that, the Fed has been saying that for decades. And if you look at that post I made, you'll see I put a chart from the Fed that says, here's when the recessions happen.
So what do you think they're going to say now what a recession is?
Oh, they're trying to bring in.
Didn't he come out, the dude, and say that it's the institute that measures all these factors? And
yeah, he's trying to say that the National Economic Bureau of Research, they're throwing in all of this ambiguous stuff. They're saying it could last for 2 months or maybe 5. They're just making it too ambiguous to have any meaning whatsoever. And since not only have we measured it this way since 74, but the Fed likes the definition so much, they applied it to periods before 1974. After they got it, they started applying it to the past. So they're trying to change it, and that's total BS. I'm not listening to anything they say. We're in a recession.
Let me ask you this. Who should know what a recession is?
I believe every American should know what it is. But I think that every congressman, every senator who's serious about this economy should be approaching the White House and telling them, we're not going for this. This is just, politicking at its finest. The media should be doing it, but the media doesn't understand complex financial issues. They just don't. So
you can have Jim Cramer and Mad Money and whatever he does and all these shows to come on talking about money, so they don't understand this stuff too.
No,
if you want to become wealthy, watch Jim Cramer's show daily and do the exact opposite of everything he says do. Okay,
Professor Bling. You know that year for year, like when the market was climbing at ridiculous rates under Trump, he was like minus 20% year over year during Trump.
I don't understand.
So wrong, weathermen.
Jim Cramer must have photos of people with farm animals, because otherwise,
what?
I don't see how he keeps
You know,
Yeah,
you're thinking
man.
about it from the wrong direction. It's that someone has pictures of farm
What?
animals and him, so that they
Maybe.
get him to say all this stupid shit to get the idiots to invest in the wrong places so that they can control the volatility index. This is all
maybe
about stupid
soldiers,
volatility index.
can you do a show like Jim Cramer so we could? I mean, I think he was trying to make finance cool with all the bells, whistles, and buttons and
Yeah, you know, to
ring-a-ling.
me, his show is a gigantic pump and dump scheme, televised daily.
Hey, yo.
You know, I try to add a little entertainment, but at the end of the day, I'm always cognizant of the fact that, first of all, I'm not telling anyone, unless it's a client, specifically what to do, because I don't have a fiduciary relationship unless you sign some paperwork. So I'm making general suggestions, throwing out concepts, but at the end of the day, I think it's deadly serious because one of the contracts that my company has is with Aetna, and we encounter people who are past their prime earning years and cannot afford serious medication because they didn't prepare properly. So I think it's deadly serious, and when he gets on there and does his little shtick, and people follow it like gospel, it can turn out bad.
So the question, I got this question about money, right? Because money is something that everybody wants, right? Everybody wants money. Everybody wants to have money. Everybody wants to spend money. Everybody wants to, you know, get the nicest things or at least have quality things for some other people, or at least be able to provide in a lot of ways. Why is it such a boring topic?
Yeah, man. It's by design because this is a consumer economy. And so it is not in the interest of the way our economy works for everybody to just want to buy assets. You've got to have people who want to buy red bottom shoes. You think about cars. A car depreciates extremely quickly, but we've all purchased a new car in our life at one point. You never got a call from your finance company 2 years in saying, hey, we're going to lower your payment because we know the car's not worth as much as it was when you bought it. So we're in this consumer-driven mentality, conspicuous consumers, where we will foreclose our future for stuff, okay? No one's looking at you in your car, okay? No one at all.
So I'm gonna just simplify this right here. The reason money is so boring is because it requires delayed gratification.
And see, look, I got kind of an issue with that because when you purchase assets, okay, I don't know, it just does something for me to own 3M. I own that. It's still my money.
Yeah, but it's worth what it's worth today. It didn't do anything.
Yeah, but you know what? To be fair, the entire financial system relies on the fact that someone's willing to buy. Like so we're in a position where we take for granted that, but it's very easy that tomorrow morning we wake up and a nightmare event happens, whatever, like something, and the markets just tumble and never recover. We live in this, like, I'm not saying you're wrong. Everybody should prepare for the future. You should invest. You should own assets. You should diversify, have a healthy portfolio, of course. But we should learn by now. If COVID taught us nothing, it should teach us that we take everything for granted.
And there are always going to be things. There are always going to be things that are considered of value. Okay, it may not be stocks. It could be.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like that, I agree. That's what I mean. It's like, yes, do your part, but like we have to remember, we rely way too heavily in believing that the systems in place are always going to be there. And if we learned anything during the COVID, they're not really there. They don't exist because the people who are supposed to be the
totally agree
will just do whatever they want whenever they want to. That's what I mean. It's like.
Totally
money
agree.
is boring because they want it to be boring so that they can keep doing that.
And Giovanni, I'm boring. I'm the least materialistic person. I don't care about cars. I have to have nice clothes for appearances and appointments, but I just want land and solitude.
Yeah, watching
Basically.
paint dry is more
Hey,
fun.
Bling. You know what? I appreciate you because we our mentality are very very similar. I tell a lot of people all the time. My favorite, you know what my favorite vehicle on the planet is? The one that's paid off. You know
Exactly.
what? That's my mentality. That's my
Exactly.
mentality. You know what I mean? So it's like I get you. Um, Also, sir, when you get the opportunity, yeah, check your email, man. I got
Okay.
your
All right, let's
messenger.
go.
I got you,
Let's go
man.
ahead. Let's go ahead and wrap up. All
All
right, guys.
right.
Reason, go ahead and close us out, man.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for checking us out. We are the gentlemen, www.metroconservativemedia.com, MCM. Catch us out on Wednesday night with the ladies popping politics. Thursday night, we are the 8:30 show with KJ. Also, Soldiers of Finance. He hangs out with us, Mr. Bling himself, Mr. Tyrone Keys. Catch us every final Wednesday of the month. Gentlemen, I appreciate all of you guys. Oh, I would be remiss. Color Communism, Common Sense.
Yeah, read
Check
that.
this book out, you guys. Great book.
Tuttle
Also,
Twins.
the
Check
Tuttle
them out.
Twins as well. Check us out. And one more time,
And Bert. Don't
YouTube
forget about
Soldiers
Bert.
of Finance. YouTube
Thank you.
Soldiers of Finance. This gentleman, smart gentleman, he will help you.
Professor
telling you,
Bling and the Legion
this-
of Doom.
this-
Dude
this
has
man
his
is-
own
is-
evil villain army. You
I'm
guys
telling
should
you,
get with it.
a
Gotta have
true-
Buco bucks to pay for that.
For real, a true intellect on finance. You guys check him out. He can help you. I'm sure on his website. Also, you can get information on contact for for consultations and anything like that. This is a smart man. You guys don't let his knowledge get past you. So again, we appreciate you guys absolutely. Thank you for hanging out with the guys this evening, and we will catch you on the flip side.
Real quick. We got our party coming up September 17th.
Yeah,
Mark
that's
your
right.
calendars. I had to put that in
That's
there.
right.
September 17th. Nick P is going to perform. He said, "Peace, fellas." So yeah, September 17th. Just follow our Facebook page and Metro Conservative Media on Facebook.
It'll
You'll
be
see
lit.
Yep.
Get to meet
All
all
right,
the
guys.
ladies.
All right, guys.
Have a good one.
Have a wonderful evening, you guys. Appreciate you.
All right.
Later. Good night.